Chicken McNuggets for just $9.95 every day.
Quite yet. And in they go, closing the traps. That's the last breath. And Chiefs are looking for the big fee here. It's still not over. I can't believe it, Bryce. And it looks like they're going for it. And he's going for more. The double kill for the Jinx. Order cannot be stopped. This is just absolute destruction right now. And all of a sudden, Mimic comes to the party. He does get a massive stun, and that turns it right around. You've just got to give an absolute standing ovation to the heirs apparent of the OPL.
Welcome to the League of Legends OPL Grand Final!
4 splits, 4 titles. They cement their legacy as the OPL Kings.
Hello, welcome to day 2 of week 8 of split 2 of the 2019 OPL. I am Nick Boy Richardson, and I am joined by Jake Spawn Tiberi and Bryce Thick Bear Paul. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Good. Why are you thick bear?
Because I was the thickest bear on the rift yesterday.
Ah, okay. You're also a pentakill stealing scumbag.
Yeah, you just didn't do enough damage.
That is actually true. That was my fault.
If your support can steal with a rank 1 ability, then you've screwed it up.
Yeah,
that's the rule.
I'll cop it.
Yeah.
I certainly will.
How are we feeling, boys?
Fantastic!
You're looking fresh.
Still. I mean, this weekend's just been a good weekend. Except for the TFT game that was an absolute train wreck that I played earlier. Everything else is going well.
Can I just say, I guess you have to say, what is the definition of a train wreck? Because it was an amazing game.
Yeah.
It was God tier game.
I high
You had
rolled
the
everything.
Perfect everything up until the dragon.
Yeah.
And then it was...
Context,
Hard
Pirate
bad news.
Gunslingers, I didn't hit a recurve bow to turn my Trist into a Blade Master, and then I got it on Dragon, and then I died to Dragon, and it was just...
But you died to dragon
Yeah.
with like that much health
It
remaining
was-
on dragon, and you had misplaced your Yasuo, so you didn't get the
shield.
shield.
It was just
and he
disgusting.
probably would have done
I
the
just
final
noobed
bit of
it up.
damage.
I really noobed it
Yeah,
up.
and then it was all downhill from there. So I feel like I was sitting next to you. I got a taste of what it was like to be on the Chiefs. And that was it. Yeah, you get tilted hard.
And I was playing a game that required a little bit more concentration, so I only got the feeling and the utter jubilation to crushing defeat / wanting to FF was tough to handle.
It was
like,
a real
there was a lot of
emotional
motion in that PC bung upstairs.
Absolutely. There's a lot of emotion here tonight. We're excited to be back. Second night. There were some exciting games yesterday.
There were.
Upsets all over the place.
Sorry?
Upsets all over the place. I think like AV, surprising, Gravitas get the victory there. They're on the upswing. Order over Bombers. Chiefs Mammoth.
Is that really an upset?
Order over Bombers.
We've now 3-0'd them in the season.
Yeah, I mean, yes,
It's upsetting
100%.
for
Okay.
Bombers,
You can't go along with the storyline that Bombers are progressively like getting better and better and are looking good and being like, oh, is it really an upset? You know what I'm saying?
No,
It's just
I'm
like-
just saying, because I was actually thinking about this. In other thoughts, it is more acceptable that even if you're a good team, you have a team that you don't match up well against.
Yeah,
And that is much
Like your
more
hard counter.
accepted
Yeah.
in like other traditional sports.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
know, even if you're the best football team, there might be someone that, you know, has a better midfield than you and, you know, therefore that's the way you win the game and you find it difficult. That is...
sounds like Mammoth.
Yeah.
Someone died.
But
It's not Mammoth. I think it's Direwolves or my team. But
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was actually having this internal debate because I was the same. I was like upset, and then my players were like, "We've beaten them 3 times," and I was like, "In traditional sport, that wouldn't be considered an upset.
Yeah.
That would just be like that team is your kryptonite."
in esports, we're just noobs. We're like, this team good, this
team
team not
bad,
good,
yeah.
this
Bad
team
team.
wins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Caveman style analysis going on here.
Lift trophy. There will be a trophy lifted at the end of all this, and it's going to be at the MEO. So I feel like you should come along to that. Head to melbourneesportsopen.com.au/tickets and be able to purchase yours. It's a good weekend. It's getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
I realized that some friends of mine are going to be there who actually live overseas, so they're going to.
Timing.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a weekend.
And I've just got in my ear from the producers that we're actually going to do an eating stream. We're going to bring a lot of McDonald's in for me and you on the suspended couch.
Yeah.
And we're going to eat a lot on camera as well. So, I mean, I'm always happy to eat McDonald's foods. We had a large nuggets meal each last night. And
Freshest nuggets of
they were uber eated and still the freshest nuggets I think I've ever eaten. They were very good.
They were good nuggets. Also, I just love how when when TV shows traditionally say something, except if it's Fox News, it's true.
Yeah.
And so when you say these things, such as the eating competition, the suspended couch, it put some sort of weight on the producers to be like, you got to deliver, otherwise the fans would be so disappointed that there were no indoor fireworks at the grand final.
Well, the thing is like it's also very deliberate because we're putting it when they're buying the ticket. So I assume people have now gone, I'm buying this ticket for the eating stream. So there's even more pressure on the producers who have committed to this.
There could be some sort of refund scenario.
Exactly right. Like you don't want to get in a situation where you've promised something that people have bought and then it doesn't happen. That would be terrible.
That would be terrible. What won't be terrible is that every caster and host who has previously been on the OPL will be coming back for each one of those segments as well. So we're looking forward to that. All right, let's take a look at the games that we are checking out today. Before that, extravaganza in Melbourne at the end of the month. Direwolves versus Order. Game number 1. An upset on the cards, perhaps?
Who
Chiefs
knows?
versus Gravitas. Chiefs versus Gravitas. Game number 2, Mammoth versus Bombers. Game 3, the race for second place. And finally, Avant versus Legacy round out the evening. Avant looking to come back.
We're a glass half full table today. We haven't given 2 people 5th. We've given 2 people 6th. You know when normally when you do rankings, it goes like 5th, 7th? Yeah,
right.
We've just gone like, you know what? Order and Gravitas, you're actually 2 places out of there.
Yeah, nice guys.
I mean, it's either that or it's just a massive mess up by the graphics team. All right, let's talk about game number 1, Direwolves versus Order.
Yeah.
How are we feeling?
Great. We've already gone through this.
How are we really feeling?
I think like Order had a good start yesterday, and then like you know what I mean. Like the game progresses from that point. They take down the Bombers in a very long one. I feel like Direwolves have kind of. I was saying like during the cast, like I think they are sort of settling into their style. Like this was another Sejuani game. I want to see them put Raze on like the early game proactive junglers, and then when you take a look at how the junglers performed, it was like Raze, if he pops off, Spooks did have a rough game yesterday. That could be something for them to hit on. But both of these guys coming off a win, probably feeling good about this first match.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Direwolves have already beaten Order twice this season, once with Sully, once with Spooks, and they did it with Corporal when Spooks was playing. So obviously we think that Totoro is an upgrade over Corporal, so this should be one of those Direwolves favoured games. But we've, like, in all honesty, we've seen 2 very different orders throughout the entirety of this split. We've seen the order that actually looks like they know what their style is playing heavily towards that. Then we've seen indecisive 1-3-1 crappy Order. And for myself, I just hope that it is decisive team fighting good Order that shows up today and actually gives us a really good game against Direwolves.
Well, we can all cross our fingers for that. Something else you need to do before we get into the game, send in your asknickboy@gmail.com Nick Bag questions. Send in some work-related questions.
Yeah, we want to solve your work queries.
Like how to...
If you got a bad boss.
Yeah, how
to
quit.
fire your boss.
Yeah.
How to fire your boss.
Yeah.
How to get
fire your
fired.
employees.
If you got a really specific job, like that requires a degree and stuff like that.
Like technical.
Yeah, and you have any technical questions, I think we can also probably solve that.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Without any industry experience, I reckon we'll give it a crack.
Look, we'll find out. So please send them in, asknickboy@gmail.com. Send in your work questions. Send in the rest of them as well. But before that, we're heading into the Macca's Champ Select with Rusty and Pulse.
Thank you, Nick Boy. How are you doing today, Rusty?
I'm all right. I'm just ready to get into some more OPL. They're very positive over there. I feel like I have to be positive in a room with this aura that's just radiating.
I feel like it's coming from positive Paul, though.
I'm not going to abbreviate it. Let's
Good.
just talk
Good
about
save.
the game.
Good save. All right,
Jesus.
Getting into this first game. Yeah, Order versus Direwolves coming in. And I mean, again, like I feel like I'm just a broken record at this point saying every game matters, but it really does. Order picking up a game yesterday was very important for them, and over Bombers as well was a huge deal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both teams fighting for... It is more so 4th place than 4th and 6th, as you can see reflected in their ranks right now. Direwolves only 1 game ahead of Order. And the head-to-head doesn't matter too much right now. It's about how many wins can you get. You just want to be wins over your opponents. And this, if they win here, Order, have a 2-0 week, exactly what they needed coming into week 8 of the OPL. Because then they get some momentum building into the last 2 weeks and the last part of the round robin, which is honestly one of the most important things. And for me, the question for Order is how do they continue to adapt to this new patch? Are they just going to continue to play like we saw from them yesterday, that split 1 style comp, and how do Direwolves then respond?
I mean, personally, I love to see, adaptation, a lot of different picks coming in from teams. Definitely keeps other teams facing them on their toes. Direwolves also coming off a win yesterday versus Legacy, definitely a win that they had to find, and now it's really going up against teams who are around them, such as Order. They have banned away the Rakan, Olaf, and Order taking away Yuumi and Sejuani, so we're pretty much par for the course so far in these bans.
Yeah, nothing drastic seen just yet. Of course, the Sejuani taken away from Raze, something that we saw from him yesterday. So it is nice to see those champions removed. And Totoro is a very good Yuumi player. And since the removal of Lux as like the #1 be-all end-all support champion, we haven't seen a whole host of that coming out from any teams really. So Totoro's champion pool been cut a little bit. It's not going to be a first pick of support this time around, though there is still the Tahm Kench and available.
Cassio, and Silas Bands, and will be first pick Corki. Seeing a ton of Corki recently. Order looking towards potential Lucian. And yesterday was interesting, right? Because it was the first week where it was like the Tristana play could finally enter the region, you know, after seeing it pretty much in every other region.
Yeah.
We saw 2 bans and then just no picks for the rest of the day, you know. So some teams thinking about it, some teams not. There was a hover right there by Order. Not locked in, however. And it will be Lucian in the end. And
I do wonder if they'll go the Lucian Karma here, because like you are right? The Tristana is just a good pick, has been seen into the Corki a lot. Lucian to me is one of those answers to Trist though in a weird way. Like, I feel like you'll always trade well against the Tristana, so perhaps that just is where the priorities lie. And aside like Order love their engaged tools, so would not be surprised to see this one locked in with it. Spooks had a bit of a shocker yesterday on his Urgot jungle, so back to comfort for him it seems. Back to Jarvan.
Yeah, Urgot definitely still a strong pick, but didn't work out in the early mid game at all. Direwolves picking up Ezreal and Braum here. Again, something we saw yesterday, so not really a huge surprise. And then back over to Order.
No hesitation on their lock-in as well. Yeah, they locked themselves in the Vladimir. Pick a flexible champion that can go between Tally and Swiffer's lanes as you would like. They have seen the Corki matchup, and I feel like Corki's already pretty comfortable with that 1v1. Can go Kleptomancy, just make a whole lot of bank through the early stages of the game. And that just may be the L that Order is willing to take in their draft on red side right now. Higher priority then goes towards the support champions and their last pick.
Yep, Aatrox ban looking towards the solo lanes now. Definitely been a big pick for Biopampa for sure. Twisted Fate against Swiffer, obviously. And we'll see how many mid lane bans actually get levied here towards Swiffer. So we've seen a lot of different champions come up from him recently. Twisted Fate has been one of them.
I don't think there is too many more that need to be thrown at him, to be perfectly honest. Twisted Fate's one of those niche bans. So unless there's another pocket pick that they're afraid of, I would be surprised to see something like another mid laner thrown at him. Karma is actually still up and available if they wanted to get rid of that, however. Wouldn't be a bad choice, honestly.
Yeah, that is very true. Kled rounding out the bans there from Order. And yeah, just looking towards this final ban here from Direwolves, and it will be Karma, yeah. So pretty much as you called there, Rusty. And now Order back over to them.
And I'd expect a support to be locked in here. They've got the Lucian. Braum's been taken away by the Ezreal comp, so we'll see the direction that they choose to go here. Rakan's also been target banned away from Order, which is no surprise. Coupled with this Lucian, there's not a whole lot of options. You could be the aggressive Thresh type of champion, or you could be Jake, as he always wants to do, and just pick the sushi down in bot lane.
Yeah, Nami coming in. It's been a while since I've casted a Nami. I believe this is the first one of the OPL split. There's been a lot of hovers, but not a lot of lock-ins. And yeah, here we go.
It's just Jake. It's just Jake. He'll always pick himself up the Nami when he can here and there. Not a big surprise. It's a legacy pick for him. But it does mean that their bottom lane has a lot of damage, has a lot of sustain, but it's still pretty fragile overall. And one of the strengths of a Braum Ezreal is the poke, the harass, and their potential all-in threat, depending on the jungler that they pick, that can go down to that lane.
And Direwolves, Renekton made it through all the picks and bans, essentially. Pick it up on blue side here. And that will be locked in for the other solo laner. And Elise coming out, actually, for the jungler, for the Direwolves.
And I really wonder where they go here, Order, as a response, because Renekton Elise, pain in the butt. It's just going to be able to dive you constantly, and what can you pick that actually saves your life and prevents you from being dove in that lane is to be determined, right? It could be the Vladimir that goes up there, and that clearly is going to be the case here for Tally. But that Vladimir, while he's got the pull, while he can survive, is still a fairly weak early game champion. And there's always a chance that they can still kill him pretty successfully.
Yep.
I would not be surprised to see some emphasis go that direction. However, for the side of Order, that does kind of play into what they're after. Having the Lucian Nami be a stronger side of the map, be able to use the Jarvan and Zoe in tandem and control Summoner's Rift, except for poor little old Tally, who's probably just going to be in top lane competent.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of the game that he's just unfortunately been assigned to. You know, didn't sign up for it. But the team's like, well, this is how it is. You know, we'll be playing to strong side, and good luck. But yeah, Pool will be his biggest friend in the top lane. But as soon as that's down, that Vladimir, either he's got a stopwatch or he's dead. Mid lane though, picking up the Zoe here for Swiffer. We're talking about pocket picks. Definitely been a big one for Swiffer over the split and just in general. And we'll be picking up into this Corki as the final one here for Order.
I do like the composition overall from Order, but looking towards Direwolves and what they put together for themselves, I'm a big fan of Braum right now, and I actually think that he's one of the better supports running around on the Rift because of all the 80 carries that have started to come back. You see the Corkis, you see the Tristanas, and it just makes sense, right, to pick a support that provides crowd control for all of the carry champions that are running around. So I'm a big fan of what Direwolves have put together here. If they choose to play bot side, they can, though it always looks like with Renekton and Elise, you know where they want to go.
And joining us on the desk as we get into game, it's Curtis. How are you doing today?
Not bad, guys. You guys all right?
Yeah, pretty good. And how were you thinking about this composition? How do you think the draft went for you guys?
Yeah, pretty much went exactly to plan. Been playing a lot of this stuff this week. So yeah, really happy with how it panned out. And I think this game is very much just on execution for us. I think we have a really solid comp. It has very obvious power spikes, has an obvious identity early, mid, late game. So I think it's just about execution at this point.
Yeah, certainly looks like that could be the case. It really feels to me like as well both teams have got the drafts that they're Like if we had Choo Choo's here, he would have said a very similar thing to yourself there. So while it is about execution, can you add a bit more insight for the viewers as well? Like where does it start for Direwolves?
Right. Okay. I mean, if you go top to bot, I mean, you got like Renekton and Elise. I think that gives you a pretty obvious condition early game.
Very
I mean, you can build waves into dives. At least probably one of the best dive junglers you got. So they kind of synergize in terms of what they want to do and when they want to do it. Corki, Ezreal both synergize quite well with Braum. So in the mid game when they get to their power spikes, whether it's Manamune and Iceborne, or it's just Triforce for Corki or 2 items on Corki, we're going to be playing those front-to-back fights, and I think hopefully Elise Renekton have kind of done their job by then. And yeah, Braum just kind of facilitating our more mid to late game as our Ezreal and Corki get to their 2, 3, 4 item spikes. That's pretty much that.
Cool, yeah. And I also wanted to get your opinion on Tristana right now as a pick, because we saw Order kind of flirting with the idea. Corki was already picked up by you guys pretty early. I didn't end up locking it in, but do you think it's something that we're going to see in OPL? Because we've seen it basically everywhere else.
Yeah, I think Trist has some decent matchups, and I actually think it's pretty good into Corki as well.
Yeah.
I think Trist has a lot of threat on Corki. I think you can actually just all-in Corki, especially in the early phases, like level 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't feel comfortable enough on terms of like the amount of practice they got on the pick. Again, there's a difference between being able to play something and then being able to play it on stage in OPL when it matters, and especially for Order right now, this is a very important game for them to win if they want to make gauntlets. So, you know, putting myself in Swiffer's shoes, I'm like, you know, have I played enough of this? Yes, I can maybe kill some people in solo queue with it, but can I take down Direwolves?
Yeah, the question is is it worth it on stage when I've played 1,000 Zoe games?
Exactly, and like you kind of look at like top to bottom here, like Jake's gone back to his Nami, you've gone back to Zoe on Swiffer, Jarvan, bread and butter for Spook. So across the board, they've all kind of gone back to their comforts, which you can't really blame them for, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, and final question, like how close do you think this matchup is going to be against Order, right? Because this is one of the teams that you're directly in competition with to try and get into Gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2-0 against them so far. I mean, this is a third match, so I think we stack up against them pretty well. I think they're a pretty smart team in terms of macro game. I think that their skirmishing needs a little bit of work, but again, they can beat anyone on the day when they play their game. But again, I think for them, the question is just consistency. You know, like, everyone on their team has been known to play exceptionally, and like we saw last split. They ran the gauntlet, so just a timing thing for them. So I'm kind of unsure when they're going to spike in this season.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100% in agreement with you. Yeah, well, thanks for joining us, and yeah, best of luck.
Thanks, guys.
And I guess the question past that is, you know, have they spiked in this split? You never really know. Like, will they spike? Well, we don't know what that looks like just yet. We know what they're capable of, like Sharp mentioned. So it's something we'll have to continue to monitor with Order specifically, because they've got all of that potential. And it's not that it's untapped, it's just not always seen. Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and I think we very much had that conversation yesterday talking to Choo-Choos about Order, and we're not going to actually see Raze finding Spooks going into the mid lane, flag drag over the wall towards turret, but now Swiffer's kind of in this 1 versus 2, is able to do enough, though, to disengage.
Yeah, the bubble does not connect, so he just has to run away. And nice little play there from Direwolf to dissuade the gank, as Jake's going to cop a bit of a beating here. Totoro's also collapsing. The teleports are in.
Yeah, this is going to hurt. Bubble was good, though. Forced to get back into his lane, and then has to Valkyrie over the wall. Totoro has disengaged, and teleport's burnt right here, but still, no deaths.
It was thankfully just Dream's teleport coming back from base. It means that he was just more, again, dissuading them from going for the follow-up on that play. Tally is hopping it in topside, which is no surprise, but what we did see during the interview was a lot of topside focus from both teams. It wasn't resulting in these massive ganks or anything, but Spooks was there to protect him, you know, and usually the breakpoint that you look at when playing top lane against an Elise Renekton is like, level 3, will they dive me? Or like, is he building a wave? And you just try and trim waves the best you can, don't let them stack up big minion waves, and try and keep experience up. And so it seems like he's honestly done very well at that, Tally. A good little focus on the rest of Order to ensure it happens. But 42-43 CS, 5 minutes in the game, never going to complain if you're a Vladimir against a Renekton.
Not bad at all in that matchup. And yeah, I mean, that was the question, right? Like, is Spooks going to go towards top side and try and defend because of the inevitable Elise going top lane? Or is it just going to be complete bot side focus and try and snowball bottom lane, right? And I feel like a good amount of resources was used early game, at least for Spooks, to try and get that one rolling. And yeah, as we are in this game, if anything, there's actually a slight advantage to Order in terms of CS across the board. So not a bad start.
Particularly through mid lane, you know, the Corki against the Zoe matchup has done quite well for himself. Swiffer, it's a free reset that has been earned from the advantage that he has. So while the CS difference closes, that is just a walk back to lane from a teleport Zoe, which means very comfortable position in mid lane. And very much set up to control the map now. As Get Back, if he wants to keep tempo, may want to teleport to get those wards down, though I doubt he will.
Yeah, interesting. Executions calling first item here from BioPanther. This is very much a Vladimir, I'm going to be in your face for a good, probably like 10 minutes of investment here. You know, like typically you won't go first item Executioners if you're planning on doing anything but staying in top side.
Yeah, it's actually pretty efficient though against the Nami composition as well. You know, Lucian's someone that does like to have life still. Nami has heals, so when you think about team fighting, and what is my role as a Renekton in the team fights? It's to kill the backline.
Yeah.
And so now I need this Executioner's calling at some stage anyway. Corki needs to rush Trinity Force and has actually gone for the Hex Drinker first, so super defensive. You're not going to get a Morello's on the board, and Ezreal needs his items first. He needs to finish the Mana Mune and, you know, get all of his tier items and Sheen items stacked before he could even consider an Executioner's calling. So you're still the best person on the map to build it, as well as Get Back is being bopped.
Yeah, that was the full combo there. It was never going to be a kill, but it was always going to be a lot of damage, getting stunned up in the middle of the wave. And yeah, underneath tower having to farm now. But yeah, there's actually a very niche situation that Renekton has found himself in, where there's a lot of targets to use the Executioners on.
Ooh, nice little dodge.
That was a good dodge. Right behind Brock, top lane. Once again, the 2 versus 2. Spooks matching Raze. We'll just turn the corner, send out the Scout Spiderling.
And that was a very good sweeper from Raze to be able to spot the Jarvan who was hiding from him, you know, just saying if he wards this bush, he won't spot me, so we'll go on him when he face checks. He's able to spot them first, so just throws out the Volatile Spider, runs away.
And jumps on out of there. Did you know if you throw out the Volatile Spiderling, change into Spider form, and then Q, the Spiderling would jump to its target?
Yes, I did. I've played my fair share of Elise, and I've also been on a team with Sybil. I know everything about Elise.
These random interactions. Meanwhile, bottom lane, full culling pretty much onto Katsuri. And Totoro tried to block some of it. The wall comes down, and he also just tanks a bunch of that damage. That was the very value culling in the bottom side here by Dream.
Yeah, very good damage punish. They've also got the honey fruit conveniently there. And with the health advantage that they have, they're going to start off this drag, and it will be spotted by the controller that Spooks is now about to hit. But because bot lane had to recall, mid lane has had so much priority as well. It seems like it's pretty free for them to take with no contest. And at 9 minutes, an Ocean Dragon is very good to have.
For sure, and Elise is just on a camping trip right now. Oh, preemptive teleport out from Order as well. Pretty much going to defuse this gank entirely. And Swift will just say hello And it's now pretty much just about trying to get back to the mid lane, to be honest. And Raze is going to stick around and be a nuisance, but he's not going to die Tally.
Yeah, good little teleport from Swiffer, but like you mentioned, it was early. You know, and the question for me is always, was that intentionally early to just prevent the dive, or should he have held it for when the dive started? But nevertheless, Raze will now make his return to top lane, knowing that the teleport is gone. Tally has spotted it. And back for round number somewhere above 5.
And after all of that, nothing changes. Yeah, this Elise has like spent so much time on top side. It's probably like a minion away from 6.
It's a 2-level difference with
there is a 2-level
at this
difference.
point. At this exact moment, the Jarvan is winning jungle, and it is an obvious matchup, right? You put the Elise, you gank the Renekton lane, but it's one thing to say this is what you do, and it's another thing to execute on it successfully and get those victories from it.
Packs the wave here. Elise finally goes back to base and goes to the bottom side of the map for the first time potentially in this game. Has gone for Salt Boots first. And how's bottom lane doing?
They're farming well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that bot's ever really been winning for Totoro and Katsuri, and that's a very good reason given a lot of the focus has been elsewhere. But hey, they've got a CS advantage. It'll be equalized a little bit with this wave as it crashes, but you'd never complain if you Direwolves from that.
No, not at all. I mean, like, this is a difficult lane to play into. Lucian, Nami, a lot of damage early just by virtue of having those abilities. And yeah, for Ezreal to be farming well, have early tier into Sheen, like, this is just a pretty standard Ezreal lane, to be honest. So it feels pretty good.
And that's only really compliments to Katsuri and Totoro's laning once again. It's always a bit of a skill matchup when you've got an Ezreal Braum as your opponents. How you play it out is very important. We've seen times where Dream's been able to out-trade them, but overall, it's just been solid play from the bottom lane of Direwolves, and it really has been a rapid improvement for those two specifically in the lineup in terms of their individual performing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they also were separated for a couple of weeks as well.
They were.
As Corporal came in, and then Totoro comes back into the lineup. And I think, split long Katsuri has just been performing very well, to be honest. I mean, there's been like a handful of games you would point towards and be like, that was a weaker performance. But, I mean, it's like 85%, 15% of like good to bad.
I feel like he beats the Herald, but that was needlessly close.
And I think he's okay. He's also got Smite just in case.
Yeah, he already smoked early.
Right.
So, he'll be okay. Spooks was hovering bottom lane for quite some time.
Yeah, Herald, once you know the trick, is...
That's almost permission to dive, though, right now. The second this screen happens, it could just be like, ORD have gone, oh,
immediately flag
this
drag.
is even more easy. Like, we have teleport. We could flag drag and teleport to the flag, but unfortunately for Tally, topside's got its own problems because they're playing just to topside. And you know what? Maybe we can't kill the Vladimir, but we can sure as hell get his tower.
Yes, we can. Before 14 minutes as well, and that's just all of the plates gone and the tower. First brick coming through. And Tally, I mean, it's just a sad day to be, Vladimir. Like, you can get attention from your jungler, but at a certain point, if Elise is still playing through topside and even places down a Rift Herald as well, you're going to lose your tower. You're going to fall behind by a little bit. Spooks catching the Elise in the jungle. Doesn't actually hit him, though, with the flank and drag. Gets stunned down, jumps over the wall, and Tally is here to find the kill, and he gets his revenge.
And all of the good work that was done by Direwolves is just undone in a single moment from ORD. They're mid-jungle, they collapse. They find the spider. She gets slept somehow in the process of pressing E, as this may hurt. Oh, it did.
A lot. Again, never going to be a kill, but will it take almost all of his HP away? Yes. So Get Back has to walk back into the middle lane, probably burns through all of his Corrupting Potion stacks to stay in this one.
That buys more time as well. If they really wanted to, ORD, as they are fighting bottom, they could play towards the enemy blue buff now. Use that priority in mid lane that Swift has just bought himself in the 1v1. And start to look for more, but they're not actually going to go to the blue buff. They're going to dive mid.
Yeah, Spooks is looking for this one. Has pretty much everything. Flag, drag, uses the flash as well to make sure it connects. He's put to sleep, and a proto belt for the finish.
Too easy here from the side of ORD. Swiffer has to... Oh, never mind, we're bottom.
Tossing out the ultimate. Oh, Jake taking a lot of damage. Flashes the wall. Dream essentially trying to body block for him now as the Mystic Touch comes through.
Bubble.
What a bubble. And Jake will get out of there.
And what we do know in mid lane is that Raze flashed, and Swiffer would have used his Spell Thief's flash. He's alive. I have to assume that he just was amazing and point blank flashed the flash cocoon. But bot lane, a lot of skirmishing is just going to result in the disengage, and nice little play from ORD to be able to do so. But still, a lot of pressure has been placed onto that bottom turret. One plate left. They won't be able to get the full cash in.
And Infernal here as well off of that recall. So pretty much the same story of the first Dragon, which was Order forcing the bottom lane out. Same thing here. And Rose will be able to pick this one up alongside Katsuri. And that is not a bad start at all. So cracked top lane tower. Yes, they used the jungle, but now moving into Infernal. Next one's going to be Mountain. Actually, Order are coming down. Looks like this is like the type of movement you expect to see to like set up Dragon, but it's already gone. Now moving towards this mid lane. Spooks looking for the flag. Doesn't follow up with the drag.
You know, he could have went there potentially. Didn't have a whole lot of information as to where the rest of the team was at the moment.
Could be an Elise there.
Yep, could definitely have been an Elise. And flag dragging forwards without the flash, without the ultimate, isn't always the safest option as the Jarvan. So now they're going to look at get back once again, push him away. Bot lane turret is the thing that they really want to break here, Order. Whereas their opponents, Direwolves, who have switched the map up, you would expect, haven't actually chosen to do so. As the Renekton is going to continue to stay top lane for the current moment when there's no turret.
Trading over wards right now, the great ward war of Tribush at 15 minutes. Meanwhile in the mid lane, I'll put this Bronx to sleep. Katsuri chasing after, and then Spooks out of the brush, flag dragon. It just looked too simple actually. Stood down onto Swiffer, can he get out of this one? Oh, the cocoon is good from Raze, and it will be a 1-for-1.
He definitely cannot get out of it. There is just too many numbers there from the blue side. Direwolves will be able to equalize the pick, but Totoro very fragile currently on that Braum, even though he had stopwatch. So maybe could have prolonged his own life there. Doesn't actually find the opportunity to use it as the knock-ups prevent you, and goes down from Order.
Alright, support man, I have a question.
Uh-oh.
So if Nami uses Q into Braum and Breakboard, does it stop it? Because it's a lot
Yeah, it does, but it knocks up Braum.
Right, okay.
It's like it just hits the door and knocks him up.
Okay, and it doesn't, so it suspends him, but like, does it create an AoE? So if someone's standing next to the Braum or like in front of the door, like it will.
I don't think it knocks up anyone but Braum.
Right, so it absorbs a projectile and knocks him up.
Yeah, because it fully like it absorbs projectiles, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't let them through. But I don't think it hits an AoE around them. Pretty sure it's just Braum that gets knocked up. Ejim will probably correct me if I'm wrong anyway.
That sounds right. I mean, I figured that's how it worked, but I didn't know if it was like a specific
I'm pretty sure it's correct.
Because I don't see Nami every day, right? So it's worth asking these questions. Because I know with Wave, that's how it works, right? Like it will just get stopped, and I believe Braum just gets knocked up.
We don't often want to see Braum into Nami either. You know, you'll have your Thresh try and actually chop her down instead if you have the choice.
Go fishing for the Nami.
Yeah. You never want to just sit there and be Braum, especially in your solo queue games. Just watch as your team slowly dies and feel helpless.
Yeah, it's not great. Meanwhile, on the top side, Order. The gank squad moving towards the Renekton. First time he's being attacked this game. He's already got the Shojans, but he'll just instantly flash away, and the wave goes wide.
Yeah, had to have used Slice and Dice on the minion wave, which is why they found their moment to ult. Forcing the flash is a big win there for the side of Order, as that was a lot of incidental damage just thrown onto a minion. There's Swiffer in trouble.
Oh yeah, in a whole heap of trouble. Raze comes in and he's dead even before he goes for the execute. Spooks following after though, and we'll get the kill onto Braum. Tani and Dream all rock up to the play, and Raze separated from his team. Duking into the jungle though, gets the stun down. He's opened up a lot of distance, but I don't know if anyone can actually get in range to cut him off. Spooks is going to give it a shot though.
Spooks
and
has no
ulti.
This is
actually a very fast Jarvan. Hits him with the Dragon Strike, turns around, not enough damage, and he will take him off.
Get back has his own epic battle with a bot lane out. A turret will secure it in the end. Yeah, there was no boots of mobility for Raze. He's gone for the Sorcerer's Shoes, so was never going to be able to sprint away and had nowhere really left to go as they do take him down. Almost was able to turn that on the Dream, actually, after hitting him with the Cocoon to maybe one burst him. No trades to be seen. At the end of the day, it was still a very aggressive move from Dire. Was placed in mid lane looking to dive their opposing team, and they end up just trading for it.
There's been a lot of just random skirmishes, random fights in this game. We're 18 minutes in, and a lot of them have gone over to Order, to be honest. 5-2 currently. A lot of those kills have been created or started by Spooks.
But it is still, like, while the skirmishes are moving towards Order's side, the sacrifice that has to be made for those skirmishes is in the way of CS difference. And mid lane was a 10 CSD towards Swiffer, has now actually fallen behind as Getback has spent all of this time that they're skirmishing in a side lane, just happily collecting those minions. But at the same time, I would say the Tally's done a very similar thing. You know, he is very much ahead in terms of farm, found himself the kill under the Renekton earlier, under the Elise earlier, and has actually put himself in a very comfortable spot overall with money compared to that Renekton that wants to control him in lane. So Order and Direwolves are getting towards their breakpoints in items. And that's where I think it's just absolutely correct what Curtis said. You know, it comes down to an execution battle. And we're getting nearer to that point.
Now, I have not seen Renekton outside of top lane this entire game, actually. And he's still there in his natural habitat. So
Which isn't that amazing that he just never left when his turret was...
Yeah, because typically, you know, that's when, like,
peace out.
You just leave.
But they put the Corki bot instead.
Yep. And now Renekton is sieging in a turret as the dragon's being taken here by Order, so they will get this one, and now looking for recalls, but Firepamper should be able to get a decent amount of damage onto this tower. Renekton is not the craziest champion at taking down towers quickly, unfortunately.
The one thing the Direwolves do have that makes it hard for Order is a Corki and an Ezreal in the same lane. So it was mentioned by Curtis that they can actually... Oh,
who's body blocking? Katsui's got to take it.
They don't want to use the Corki package, it seems. Yeah, what a guy.
Yeah, it's like, do I just let this mid laner cop it?
His get back could have packaged that whole time, but oh!
Yeah, this is a big flank coming in. They just detonate Dream, and the jungle is also called out. Spooks flash to the wall. Jake is here for a Talon wave, looking for a potential response here, Tally, but doesn't full commit to it. And that's just not where you expect your enemies to be coming from.
Yeah, for a second, I thought Tally would go there. They were clumped up for the briefest of moments. He might have got the ultimate off, but a lot of topside protection for Biopanther as he has been sieging this area. And then through that protection, they actually find an opportunity to be aggressive on the map, make a play. It's successful. They get themselves the pick. It means the turret goes down with it. And Direwolves suddenly much more into the driver's seat in the way of gold as well as objectives.
Yeah, execution skirmish is basically what we're seeing a whole lot of this game. That turns into, yeah, another tower topside as well, in a turret. Mid lane outer still up here for Order as well.
Breaking these outers in mid, very hard, Bols.
Yep.
Very hard. Ezreal, Corki are basically mid laners at this stage. The infinite wave clear between both of them as well. They just throw rockets and Qs, so it's outranging you. How do you break it? The side of Order, Zoe's just going to throw bubbles from the flanks constantly with a Jarvan threatening. And so you hope to push up to that mid lane. You better be ready to cop a lot of damage as a response. And then the threat of the all-in's just so high from Order. Real hard to break that turret without a kill beforehand.
So we're going to have these two towers standing for a long, long time. Top lane, Dream is actually pushing in by himself here. He's also got Spooks coming up, so this might be an outer turret dropping. Zoe's here, just also have Jake alongside him. Biopanther finding Tally, forces the flash in the bottom lane as he's just trying to rotate down there. And Dream will get himself a tower on the top side. Mid lane now being chunked out with a 2 versus 3, but looking for this engaged Spooks. Not going to quite get it off. And Order, protect the mid lane.
The price is high. To be able to siege that mid lane, a bubble hits. Zoe follows with some paddle stars of her own, and it's really just that simple, right? They were able to do that Direwolves because Lucian was top while Vladimir was running away in bot lane. So they had a moment. There's Tally in trouble.
Yeah, they're going for this dive. Tally underneath the tower, but it's a fast Vladimir with everything stacking up, and he will be able to get out of there. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Dream, he just sat in top lane for 40 seconds and pushed in. They're now pushing on to inhibit the turret. This is absolute insanity. Flushes away Biopanther as he sees Tally coming towards him.
What was that?
I don't have a good answer for you.
He had no reason to flash. Richard, what's happening?
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, they didn't have vision in the jungle, I guess, so maybe there was an assumption that Jarvan could have been there.
Vladimir's within 600 units of me screaming, right?
But a 60% health for Renekton is, yeah, does not need to flash.
Oh, well, he just wanted to show his opponents that he doesn't need flash to beat them.
Yeah. It might be one of those plays, you know, where like we have God vision and we're like, that's silly, but like it's utter darkness from the Direwolves and they just have no idea, right? Like, that being said, you know, Lucian was in topside and I think Jarvan showed, so like it could have only been like a Zoe bubble or something, but again, we have all the information.
Thinking too much into it, it was just a mistake. Don't give him any benefit of the doubt on that one.
My job is to look at both sides. Proceed. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Jake taking a lot of damage here. It's not going to be a kill, but all this damage from range mounts up very quickly. Order trying to protect this one, but this mid-outer is very low.
They may go for the engage here, though, Water. You can see Jarvan's on the flank. Tally will be in trouble bot side, but Ayers should be peeled towards that mid-outer if Dire will choose to step up and siege it.
And it is pretty much tap it down. Spooks, does he want to engage on this one? No.
Oh, it hits.
Good sleep. Flag, drag. Very much in no man's territory, but Totoro able to jump to his ally, and wave goes wide. But in the bottom lane, Biopamper and Raze, the dynamic duo who have been together 23 minutes long, take the inhibitor tower, but now the entirety of Order are coming down. They have the teleport. This is going to open into a fight. That was a great cocoon. Flag drag into the Cataclysm, locks down 3. But Order have to back away from this one. They are very low, and Katsuri does a lot of damage. Tani did not get the burst he wanted. Totoro backing away. Stun is down onto the mid lane. Swift is dead. And there's a lot of blinking red health bars out from the direwolves, but they still have the upper hand.
They're still hunting here as well. Tally's going to play with it. He wants it.
I mean, they're sticking around. Totoro's door was clutch right there, blocking damage from the Tides of Blood. Dream now stepping forward, seeing if he can find his own cleanup and just get out of there.
Both teams really wanted that extra step forwards. Maybe they get one more kill, snowball the rest of the team fight in their favor, but they were not able to get it. We'll see the fight one more time as it starts with Bio being chunked out. Spooks gets a sick engage off, but he has to sacrifice himself for it. And from that moment, I thought that maybe in the Cataclysm Order would have enough damage to lock them down. But unfortunately, Tally, he goes forwards, he uses his ult, he finds a single target with it. And so there's not enough threat for the rest of the blinking health bars of Direwolves. If Tally still had his ultimate right now, none of them would be here. But they're able to play just with their range advantage that an Ezreal and a Corki would have, knowing that there's no flash from the Vladimir, just that little bit better than their opponents.
I mean, the sheer fact that Direwolves were able to literally save their 2 laners who were pushing into Inhibitor and get them out alive is a huge deal. Order immediately pulling the trigger onto Baron. It's down to half already. Fallback pings are going down, but there's no ward. This is just going to be instinct
Finally
here. The tidal wave onto Raze. Can he get in here in time? No, he cannot. The spike comes down. Order is basically just trying to get out of this pit now. Flash over the wall. The Vladimir has gone in, and Jake cannot get out with no flash. They're going to lose Tani as well here. Losing 2 of the Baron buffs, but the rest of Order should be able to get away.
And you want to say the cost of that play is the bot lane inhibitor, but we'll see how Direwolves are able to play this one out, because Order recall immediately to go towards bot lane, and they should be able to push that wave out. Looks like they'll be able to get out with just Baron. Not exactly clean, but maybe at the cost of mid lane inner instead.
Let's see if they can get this one. Redemption. And down.
Oh, they're engaging.
Out from Spooks. He dies instantaneously. The cunning. Totoro walks back into it. Tanks the rest of that damage, and the rest of the team runs away.
Yeah, Totoro very consciously chooses to tank that one. He knows that someone has to die. They're locked in the Cataclysm. That means that Spooks will trade his life 1 for 1. And I think it's always fair to say that when you've got Baron, you don't necessarily want to just trade 1 for 1, because now you lose a Baron buff. But you take what you can, because the result of that is they try and hold the mid lane inner with it.
And it feels like this entire game has very much been about towers here for the Direwolves. You know, engage into tower, into tower, into tower. Like top lane getting like second inner turret that early. Then moving bot lane and getting an inhibitor tower without the use of Baron. Just skirmishes happening on the opposite side of the map, and Raze and Biopamper just staying together for the entire game. And that has accumulated in you know, a lot of local gold, which has gone over to the Renexion and the Elise, who are very much ahead of their counterparts.
I would still be afraid of the team fight of Order if it ever gets an opportunity to put 5 people in a single lane, make a play. You have the teleport, you have the flash available from Tally right now, so his flanks are going to be very deadly if he's able to find them, and that's where you start to look at flank vision. Because what do Order want? They want the team fight, and a flank is one of the best ways to force that. So don't be too shocked if that's what you start to see being forced by them, where Direwolves, they very clearly have established themselves a game plan, and that is win the side lane, break that inhibitor if possible, and then just try and win the game through that inhibitor being broken and wave control available. But because Baron's gone, a lot of their plan is out the window for the current moment. And that buys a whole lot of time for Order and opportunities for Order to try and find those plays.
Yeah, time is the biggest thing here. And Jake, that Volatile Smiling did a lot more damage than I was expecting it to. He does have heal, so he'll be okay. But yeah, this Nami, very squishy champion, turns out. Spook's looking for this potential flank that you're alluding to. Biopamper's going to spot him though, force him out of here. In a turret, throws out the fissure. As the tidal wave, the stun down onto the drop, and still goes for the Cataclysm. He dies once again. And the rest of Order, can they put Biopamper down? Not enough damage.
Oh, Tally!
It's the flank out from Tally. He gets the Hero Plague onto 4 members right here. Swiffer following through. Totoro goes down, and the double kill out for Dream. Trying to chase after, but the slow is good out from Katsuri. And the rest of Dai was trying to get away from this one, get back low. He also Valkyries out. And that's going to be a 2 for 1, and now the mid lane siege
2
from
for 2.
Order.
They get a second kill on the back of a big rocket. The Ezreal and the Corki have a lot of poke, but they don't have a lot of health bars left, so they'll get the team fight win here, Order. Maybe it was a little early from Spooks, but it doesn't matter when they clump up so perfectly for Tally on that Vladimir flank. That's exactly what we said could happen, and that's exactly what does for Order as they break towers, they close the goal gap, and we get to see it one more time here. Tally's in base, so he's prepared to flank. And it seems like Spooks wants this to keep them keen, but didn't want to go too hard on the engage, except the Cocoon locked him down, so he had no choice. And this is just picturesque for a Vladimir on Summoner's Rift. Comes in, hits everybody with the ultimate. Maybe didn't even need to Zonia's there, could have continued to output some damage, but regardless of execution, the flank was perfect from Order.
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, go from Tally making the big play to getting caught out, but he's still alive from the Vladimir. He's going to regen back up. Spooks has gotten the first, and Turtle trapped on the opposite side of the wall.
That bubble.
Ezreal, he does manage to get the E off, and there's the tank out from Get Back. Pump comes in as well, but Spooks, the Cataclysm keeps him in place. Tana Wave as well. The Renekton may just pay for this right now. Put to sleep, and Tanny will get the last hit. 3 kills out of nowhere.
And it really feels like all of the momentum the Direwolves had has been completely removed off the map. They are now in absolute control Order as they look towards mid lane. No minions alive right now. It is still the Ezreal, it is still the Corki standing, and both very strong. But I don't know if they can hold it against this many members.
Flash through, trying to get, oh yeah, Kasuru almost walking into that, the bubble pop. Doesn't get it in the end, but still, mid lane inhibitor now exposed. And Order will also get themselves a dragon and also everything in the jungle as they sweep through this one. Looks like Direwolves are actually pushing up very aggressively though into the mid lane.
Yeah, they'll probably go through mid to red side, enemy red side vision. They'll be looking towards Baron. We'll see this fight one more time. It was Tally that you'd say gets caught, but at the same time he is pretty much unkillable if he gets the ult and the W available, so Blood Pool's there. With that first kill, he's already back to full health, and these bubbles just continue to hit from so far. He is one of the better Zoe players that we have seen, and their follow-up here is very nice from Order. I feel like easy as you like, they'll just get the rest of this team fight pretty successfully. And they'll break the mid lane turret for it as well.
Yeah, and if you don't instantly kill the Vladimir, that is a problem. And getting that last little bit of damage sometimes is the difficult thing.
The Vladimir time bomb is back. It always feels that way, especially if you're going Renekton Elise into a Vladimir. You've set yourself on a timer. It was successful for the most part. They've broken a lot of towers.
Yeah.
But they didn't win the game. They didn't get a massive gold lead from those towers that they broke.
Yeah, there was like 2 times in this game where it really felt like Order slowed down that strategy. You know, like in the early game, Spooks just being underneath the tower saying hello to Raze every time he rocked up into top lane. And then it was the Baron play, you know, just stalling a good 3-4 minutes. And speaking of Baron, yeah, they've actually started it off.
I like this
it's
from
dropping
Order.
very quickly. Totoro steps up and finds himself Tally in the jungle. Throws out the tidal wave. Just hits Brom on this one. And Tally's enough of a threat running interference, but Spooks goes for the engaged Cataclysm onto the Elise, but now he's stuck away from the rest of the team with Biopamper in a 1v1 against Tally, chasing him out here, can't quite get the stun down, and Tally just gets all of his HP back. Blast Cones over the wall, and Direwolves do manage to stop Order from taking the Baron and also kill the jungler.
And if they don't actually teleport their Direwolves, they lose Baron. So they have to teleport. Now the play is on. It was good from Order in concept. Force a teleport, maybe force a team fight if he doesn't. But now Direwolves, they've got the Baron in their sights. There's no jungler from Order. If they fight, they're all in no matter what.
Well, Swift is going to put out a lot of damage over this wall. Totoro's low. In fact, he's dead. The Baron goes down over to the Elise. Katsuri canning away from this one, but here comes Tally. Oh, gets him with the last Mystic shot. Now Jake and Swiffer don't really have the damage and are getting chased down. Here comes the ultimate. Oh. Lands right onto Swiffer's back, but the rest of the team isn't in range to complete the kill. And that was an extra 2 kills, and the Baron now going over to the Direwolves.
And at the OPL this week, as the Baron spawn, the game swings every single time. This time it was Order who tried to kick it off, right? And then it comes back to hurt them in a 1-for-0 trade. Dire will say it's not a 50-50 because we have the smite. And even when Dream comes in and just one-hits Totoro, as you're about to see here as the Baron goes down, it doesn't actually result in enough to win because Katsuri is playing out of his mind currently. Very good League of Legends coming out of him. And then the rest of the team, of course, putting down good damage. Thankfully, the Smite Secure was still there from Raze, and Dire was back in the driver's seat.
Yeah, killing both of the carries right there, Katsuri, was so key. Dream and Tally both gunning for him, and he manages to finish off both. If one of those carries stayed alive, that was a very different fight. So important coming out here from the Direwolves, and now they have very much the power play, you can see, with this Baron pushing down the middle lane. And this is what we wanted, maybe like 8 minutes ago before the last Baron, when we were saying if they get the Baron, then they can actually complete and follow up on, that exposed inhibitor. A lot of things that were set up beforehand wasn't the case. Now is the time.
And it's very easy to look at the score lines here of a lot of the Direwolves members and say 515 pretty good on the Corki, 306 very good on the Ezreal, but the same people on Direwolves are dying as hang on.
Yeah, 1 versus 1 between the AD carries. Dream called out, flash out from Raze, and a response from Dream. Trying to catch him on the fissure, doesn't quite connect, and Tally is still holding the line here in the bottom lane.
Totoro just decides to slam down in mid lane, no real purpose on the ultimate being thrown besides throwing it, as Get Back is hunting towards top lane Inhibitor, and Spooks is now hunting towards him. That disengage probably buys enough time for bot and mid, however, to push in, so Inhibitor's definitely just going to go regardless. Order very indecisive, being pulled around the rift by Direwolves. Very well played from them, and here's the engage.
Black Drag Flash gets a knock onto Katsuri into the Cataclysm, but he's opened up the distance now. Katsuri canning backwards and getting full damage out from these Mystic shots. Fire Panther jumps in with a huge flank, takes out the front line, slice and dices. Dream backing away, the flash off and Get Back, crit down onto the AD carry, he's dead. Jake comes out of the Zonies, he's dead as well. And Swiffer, last remaining member, and I think Direwolves, this may be the game.
Yeah, Direwolves looking to end right now. It's just Swiffer against all of them, and there's no chance. It's now a 3-0 from Direwolves against Order.
Triple kill coming out from Get Back, and that is the clean sweep over the season. 3-0 over Order.
And I guess we can really talk about teams having their kryptonites, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? Kind of rock, paper, scissors right now. What, the 3-0 over Bombers?
Direwolves, Order, and Bombers.
And yeah, what do we know what the win-loss is?
I don't know.
I just hope it's Bombers over Direwolves, and then we have the true
triangle.
The true triangle.
That would be interesting. Nevertheless, it was a good win in the end from Direwolves. They're the type of team that I would say are really good with momentum. So once they had that momentum in the game, once they were back in the driver's seat, they made a lot of good plays. But Order's also one of the better teams of playing against the momentum, right? So preventing the dives in top lane, forcing the Barons at good moments. Like the Baron that they forced in this game where Direwolves beat them with the teleport coming in, and it was just a 1-for-0. Against Bombers yesterday, they got that Baron, right?
Yeah.
So really, to me, that's actually credit to Order for making these really clutch, like, we are doing this, we're going hard as 5 people and doing it straight away types of calls. But at the same time, Direwolves got there fast enough, they were able to beat them.
I mean, that's pretty basically how we open the game, right? It's just like Order have this really high ceiling that they can hit, but we don't always see it, and we don't always see it all at once in the same game, you know? Like, sometimes you look at a team and you'd be like, all right, what order are we going to see today, or like, what X team are we going to see today? But they're not quite that team. It's like, what team are we going to see on this play, right? You know, like, it's just going to be like the Order that's going to just rock you in like a dragon fight, or are they just going to be able to do nothing?
The varying versions of a coin flip that is Order right now, but sometimes it's awesome, you're right. Sometimes we have some really unfortunate moments, but the thing is, and Spawn's even mentioned this, they do it early enough so that they don't usually lose the game from it. Unfortunately, the one moment that they did in this game, where it was the Baron given over in the 4v5, kind of was losing the game by giving the Baron.
For sure, and it's definitely an unfortunate loss here for Order, right? But at the same time, they picked up a very good win yesterday against the Bombers, so it's kind of gone net neutral, getting that 1-1 week. So it's not the worst, but also not the best. However, for Direwolves, that's actually a really nice outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the extra separation on the ladder is very important for Direwolves, getting them even closer to the playoffs for the gauntlet run themselves. So a must-get win for the side of Direwolves that they'll be very happy with, especially with the inclusion of the Koreans coming in and having a good game from Raze.
Yeah, it's the fact that like all of these teams right in like the middle right now are all just like very close to each other. So every single win that you can get over someone who's directly competing with you is basically twice as important, right?
It's very tense right now in the middle of the table. Week 8 coming in, teams at 7 wins, 6 wins, pretty much between all of, I would say, everyone but Legacy right now.
It's true.
Basically
Gravitas
fighting.
moved up there as well. So
yeah, I think literally everyone but Legacy are within touching distance of the gauntlet, which speeds those poor souls that don't make it. It could be a really rough last couple of weeks here for some
it could
teams.
literally be down to like the last type of game scenario, Like, I felt like that was the curse of like the LPL when we were casting. It's just like, and out of these 250 games that we've played, this last one counts for 3 teams. And we're like, okay.
We had a 331 game season, and last week was the most important week. Except for the last day where all they did was the Oscars.
Yes, that is true. But everyone got dressed up and it was really nice.
Are we interviewing a player?
I'm not really sure, to be honest, because we've just been sat here filling. And yeah, I'm looking over and still no player. This is an empty couch. So I was kind of tempted to just toss it over and just
He'll be right with us.
see what Nick would do. All right, cool. Yeah, for now, we're going to send it over to Nick on the couch. Oh, it's
That was a solid game by the Direwolves. As a member of the Direwolves, you must be really happy.
I'm not a part of the Direwolves. I'm part of Order. So, yeah, a little bit unfortunate there. But I think...
I'll be the Direwolves. Can I be the Direwolves?
Sure.
Is this actually on? Now I'm wearing 2 microphones, so something's going.
It's the interview microphone.
Yeah, you know, I think that was a tough game. Early definitely didn't go the way we wanted. You know, we had the Elise, the Renekton. We tried to put a lot of pressure topside, and unfortunately couldn't get a dive happening. But, you know, we hit the scaling button. We had the Ezreal, we had the Corki, and then got towards late game. Cheeky little Baron shenanigans, and then we got a victory.
And you guys actually
Direwolves out.
And you guys actually needed this win because now you... Oh, no, you're done? No, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, well... I haven't got any word from the control room, so I reckon we just roll on with this. Yeah, I mean, that was a bit of a heartbreaker for Order and something that Direwolves probably weren't expecting to come back from.
Sure. I think that Order played the early game really well again. They got first dragon. They were able to pick up first blood onto the Vladimir in a very negative lane, you would say. I don't necessarily think it's a losing lane for Vladimir. I think it's just one of those lanes where you can perfect CS versus Renekton.
Yeah.
You just have no control over what happens.
Yeah.
He gets to choose whether you push because you have to play the lane to always have stacks on your queue. He gets to choose whether he pushes because he out-pushes you. You get to set up all the dives. But, it's one of those things that, it's actually very hard to dive a Vladimir. Can't overlook the fact that, he has 2 forms of, gross heal, has really good AoE wave clear, and he also has a pull that makes him untargetable, generally runs stopwatch as well.
Yeah.
So, that's a really hard dive to pull off, right? So, we like lanes like that, to be honest. Tally's actually, I think, one of the better weak side top laners, even though he does play a lot of scaling. So, we were happy with how the early game went, but unfortunately just, and I always say this, too many little mistakes just throughout the game, you know. A couple of burnt flashes at unfortunate time cost us an Infernal Dragon. That was kind of the first one. Then, you know, taking the short way through jungle when they had held control, and cheated tempo for 3 minutes. We had wasted so much of their time, then Dream face checks it, and then all of a sudden, you know, they get top lane turret, they get a huge chunk on mid lane turret. So just mistakes like that are always going to cost you games, and they're the little things that Order needs to tighten up if they want to play these early to mid game comps.
Yeah, because on the other side of the coin, the things that Direwolves do to take advantage of that is they obviously have the triple TP. Yeah, they had Ezreal and then Corki as well, so they just played the map. Anytime Order takes a dragon or something, Spooks was taking a dragon as his team is pushing an inhib, and you do have to remember Order literally broke through mid lane, we're hitting on an inhib, and so they weren't necessarily in a good situation. But anytime something happened, there was always a response on the other side of the map. And when you can just vacuum waves as an Ezreal, as a Corki, then eventually you get towards late game, and it's Elise didn't do stuff early, yes, but then she does reasonable damage in that landing CC. There were moments, I think the flash W from Biopan through the back end of that last fight, Order over the course of the game, it seemed with a Zoe, with a Nami, and a Vladimir, it's you want an engage to happen, but all they had was Spooks on the Jarvan. And as you mentioned, the little things that go wrong make that infinitely harder. And more often than not, as the weeks progress in this split more than ever in the OPL, I think teams are just getting better and quicker at punishing. Because it's Tally goes in on half an engage. Spooks gets cocooned, has to cataclysm, and he's just gonna die, and that's his job in that situation. And then Tally's all right, I guess this is it, and it's immediate flash done on his head. Everybody follows up, and that's just how the game turns around.
Yeah, I think on the flip side, right, is this is one of those games where I would always rather be the Jarvan Vladimir team because I think you have every tool to be able to make the play. And I look at the Baron that Order actually because I hate being the team that scales and does nothing. I just always have hated playing the game that way. And if you look at the Baron that Order took, there's actually no way they get in that pit. At least didn't have flash during that Baron. You have a Nami, you have a Zoe, and you have a Vladimir. At least legitimately has to walk at you or repel, and then you know exactly where she's coming down. In my opinion, if Tally's just in that pit, because he didn't have flash. If he's on flash, he can be on that wall the way he was playing against the Renekton, because then it's a big flash flank. But they know he doesn't have flash. He used it the last team fight. It was not even close to off cooldown. I think they have to come in there, and I think that is actually a very good team fight to be able to win. Or they have to choose to poke. And then you've got double mount. They're not going to be able to poke you as quick as you can take the Baron in that situation. So I think that was just a pressure game getting to order a little bit. Obviously, at this stage of the game, everything matters a lot more. But I think, like, really good sides from both of these teams. I think, like, both of them look good.
And
also, you laughed, but it's genuinely not a meme. Like, that's a term we had on like the chat. It's like when you're baiting like people, you want to spoon them in. It's like a big scoop of ice cream. Just draw them in and then you go. Like, if you go too early, your mouth misses the spoon.
That makes sense.
You got to wait for the spoon to get to the mouth.
I was just laughing at the very long action that you really... Yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
You got to hit it home.
So Direwolves and AV now battling it out for the last spot in Gauntlet.
No, I think so I would say Direwolves are now a shoo-in. They're like the 4th place team.
Yes.
And it's Order AV and Gravitas battling it out for the last spot, right?
Yes, because it's sort of weird as well, because Gravitas actually have the head-to-head over Direwolves. I don't believe they have it over anyone else, no, but they've already beat them twice.
Yep.
They're now 2 points behind, Direwolves sitting at the top. Like, AV could win their game today, then they rest even with Direwolves, but yeah, certainly like those two, points-wise, they're just up by 1 minimum.
I think even on form, right?
But then it's just like, form... Given like what we saw from like AV yesterday, it doesn't look like a good week for them. Yep. They are against like the weakest team in the OPL. If they can't beat Legacy, I think it is dire straits in all honesty here for them. So like maybe they should be able to take that game, and you do have to like rest on form as you get towards like the gauntlet end.
Lots of drama here at the OPL. We'll be right back to undercut it all with some paper.
Taking him to tower, but now the entirety of Order are coming down. They have the teleport. This is going to open into a fight. That was a great cocoon. Flag frag into the Cataclysm, locks down 3. But Order have to back away from this one. They are very low, and Katsuri does a lot of damage. Tani did not get the burst he wanted. Totoro backing away. Stun is down into the mid lane, and Swift is dead. And there's a lot of blinking red health bars out from the Direwolves, but they still have the upper hand. Panther's going to spot him now and force him out of here. In a turret, throws out the fissure. As the Tidal Wave, the stun down onto the Jarvan. Still going for the Cataclysm. He dies once again. And the rest of Order, can they put Biopanther down? Not enough damage. Tally! There's the flag out from Tally. He gets the Hero Plague onto 4 members right here. Swiffer following through. Totoro goes down, and the double kill out for Dream. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, go from Tally making the big play to getting caught out, but he's still alive. And the Vladimir, he's going to regen back up. Spooks has gotten the first, and Totoro trapped on the opposite side of the wall.
That bubble.
Ezreal, he does manage to get the E off, and there's the tank out from Get Back. Biopump comes in as well, but Spooks, the Cataclysm keeps him in place. Tana Wave as well. The Renekton may just pay for this right now. Put to sleep, and Tani will get the last hit.
The Dire was very well played from them, and here's the engage.
Black Drag Flash gets a knock onto Katsuri into the Cataclysm, but he's opened up the distance now. Katsuri canning backwards and getting full damage out from these Mystic shots. Biopanther jumps in with a huge flank, takes out the front line, slice and dices. Dream backing away, the flash off and get back, crit down onto the AD carry, he's dead. Jake comes out of the zonies, he's dead as well. And Swiffer, last remaining member, and I think Direwolves, this may be the game.
Yeah, Direwolves looking to end right now. It's just Swiffer against all of them, and there's no chance. It's now a 3-0 from Direwolves against Order.
Triple kill coming out from Get Back, and that is the clean sweep over the season. 3-0 over Order.
You gave me this when we were just 16 years old. Darling, cop up.
A little goes a long way at Macca's. Grab 24 Chicken McNuggets for just $9.95 every day.
She scares me. I reckon she gets too tough there at the end.